Dragon Riders, Kaze no Kaeru, by Night Dragon Zero. Night Slice's perspective. The room looked empty, but I knew much better than to believe that. It was apparently some miniature water processing plant. I glanced around in anticipation, noting every movement of the machines and every sound. There were hissing sounds as steam escaped from the pipes around the area. Alagard! Come out! I know you're here! The Force is with you, young warrior, but you are not a Jedi yet. Oh, don't patronize me! On a platform above me, Alagard stepped into view. It had been a long time since I'd seen him personally. As confirmed by the others, he was a Scizor. He had added components, just as I remembered. A silver chestplate that looked something like a sleeveless Kevlar vest with several blinking lights on it. The helmet that was also silver and was worn over the upper part of his head, leaving the lower jaws exposed. A red visor over the eye section served as his means of vision. The black and gray arm guard covered his lower right arm, extending before the pincer-like claws. However, he'd apparently dropped his storage pack. It was impossible to see his eyes through that visor, but I didn't need to at all, for this was the time I would put an end to my nemesis. "I've let you mess with my life enough," I declared. "This time we'll end this, here and now!" "I find your terms agreeable," Alagard calmly replied, pointing a claw at me. "But no matter what, you'll always have that darkness within you." "Shut up!" I roared, charging. Alagard opened his right pincer, revealing the hidden Gatling gun inside. Instinctively, I vaulted to the side as a spray of bullets hit the floor. I landed on my feet and kept running. My opponent ceased fire and leapt down towards me. "Stone Prison!" I called out the name of the technique, summoning a wall of stone from the ground, blocking Alagard's path. It didn't take him too long to break through, but I was better prepared by the time he did. My slash caught the old warrior in midair, but he managed to recover and land upright. I threw myself into a sweeping kick, which he somersaulted over and landed behind me. We got into a frenzy of slashes, like a pair of swordsmen. Alagard's kick threw me down face first, but I managed to roll away as he tried a follow-up stomping attack. With the spinning motion, I brought my legs up, taking Alagard down. I quickly got up and sprinted a short distance off. "Disintegration!" In the flash of an eye, I attacked, lashing out with the water elemental slash. Alagard used his claws to guard, but the forbidden technique still did some damage to him. I had to dodge again as he sprayed me with another round of bullets. "Face the shadows," he growled, putting a claw across his chest. The world around me seemingly darkened. "What the?" I gasped. I literally couldn't see anything past my own snout. I was suddenly smacked below the chin, and then slashed from the side. Roaring in pain, I dropped to one knee, desperately trying to think of something. I then heard the click as Alagard prepared to fire. "Matrix armor!" I called out. My body was engulfed in a golden light as the armor welded itself around my body. The light also pierced through the darkness of Alagard's forbidden technique, allowing me to see his position. However, I didn't have time to do anything but raise my claws and defend against the volley of gunfire. My mind screamed in torment as I struggled to hold my ground. The golden armor protected me from harm, but the stress of maintaining it badly wore me down. Unable to hold it any longer, the armor dematerialized. Suddenly, I found my air supply cut off. Alagard had me in a chokehold from behind. "You may have grown, but your will is still weak," he taunted. "No!" I screamed. In my fury, I sank my fangs into his forearm, the one not covered by the arm guard. It hurt my jaw terribly, but I managed to pierce through his outer skin. Despite the pain, Alagard managed to keep his iron clasp on me. I felt the salty taste as my opponent's blood went down my throat. I thrust my elbow backwards again and again. Finally, I gathered up enough strength to break loose, throwing Alagard to the ground. Several machines exploded around the room, starting some small fires. Their orange glow reflected off our bodies, producing a stunningly eye-catching effect. Brah! Another roar came as Chris leapt onto the scene, swinging her blades. Alagard blocked the surprise attack and leapt away, standing to face the two of us. "You used me!" Chris yelled in anger. "Damn it! That whole time you've been playing me like a puppet!" "I only gave you what you wanted," Alagard replied. "The chance to take out your anger. Besides, when I gave you that promise that we wouldn't be killing any innocent bystanders, I kept that. Night Slice counts as an entirely different thing, and you were particularly easy to mold in that purpose." "Ah! Chris, let's send this bastard to hell!" I roared. "Delighted to oblige." The blade fight resumed with 3 combatants this time. Screams of combat filled the room. Alagard expertly warded off our combined attacks, and we leapt and jumped around, pulling off all sorts of aerial maneuvers. I somersaulted over our opponent and swung my claw. Alagard blocked it and threw me off just in time to face Chris. His attack was mistimed and caught her on the side of her chest. However, Chris managed to twist her body slightly and kick him in the face, causing him to stumble. That was the perfect opportunity. I lunged with a wrath I'd never known and drove my claw right through Alagard's chest. Blood splattered everywhere as I withdrew my sword-like claw. Alagard's face was contorted with pain, but then he grinned and began to laugh. Well done. You did have it in you after all. What do you mean? By my blood, you have gained the Bug Elemental Dragon's forbidden skill. My forbidden skill, the aura known as Will of Shadows, a ghost-type technique combining Nightshade and Confuse Ray. It drives darkness into the minds of your enemies itself. However, it is tied to my life force. Chris approached as Alagard dropped to his knees. Your life force? I asked. You mean I could only obtain it if you killed me? Yes, and killed me out of hatred, Alagard continued. Then why everything? Chris muttered. The base, your troops. I was reborn with the mission to bring you to this world, Night Slice. Those were the times when even I tried to deny my destiny. But that day I was captured by the humans, and later when you hatched, I realized I could never truly be free until this time. I knelt down and faced him. My eyes were tearing up, but I didn't care. It was true at first that I deceived those other Pokemon with false visions to get them to join up with me. However, as time passed, I realized I truly began to care for every one of them. It was something I'd never experienced in the past as the Bug Elemental Dragon, and I was caught between myself and my destiny. Father. I'm glad you can for once call me that and truly mean it. Alagard coughed. Now, with the 8 forbidden skills at your disposal, destiny is in your hands. A nearby machine exploded, sending a large portion of it falling down on our position. In a flash, Alagard jumped up and shoved me out of the way. Ah! My world spun as I went flying. I groaned as Chris helped me to my feet, and gasped in shock seeing Alagard had caught the large mass on his back, struggling with his weakened body to hold it up. You must hurry. Your friends are in grave danger, he whispered. There's no time for me to explain. Night Slice, we've got to get out of here. Chris tugged on my arm. I have a bad feeling this sector is on the verge of annihilation. Heed her advice. It doesn't matter what happens to me. Alagard nodded weakly. The path you take from here on is entirely up to you. Farewell, my son. I somehow let Chris drag me all the way across the room and out the door. Alagard's perspective. I stood and watched, feeling the last of my strength slowly leaving my battered body. Chris and Night Slice. There wasn't much time for me now. Everything I'd done, everything I'd been through, now came back in those few seconds to haunt me. More bad than good, I admit. However, it still depends on what you view either one as. Now that my story had been told, I could go. In my mind, I reached out with what was left of my powers. I called out to all my surviving troops, the Pokemon who'd fought for me, and told them their task was over. With the passing of my forbidden technique, its effects on them were likely to fade. Most probably, they wouldn't remember anything. It was good, then, that I could clear my traits, so to speak. Yet I felt a familiar presence nearby, not physically near at least. Zion, I growled. Come to taunt me one last time? No, not this time, my old enemy. Only to say goodbye, the Psychic Dragon replied. Heh, I always was the only one who could whip your ass, Zion. Shame we'll never get to finish our battle. Indeed. However, it's out of our control now. My head had been hanging downwards, and now I looked up. Chris and Night Slice were still at the doorway, only now Chris had to use a bit of force, as she was literally holding Night Slice back. Night Slice was definitely screaming something out to me, but I couldn't make it out. My head was spinning too much due to blood loss. In the midst of his yelling, Night Slice growled, and he evolved. I grinned, seeing his new scissor form. Reminds you of yourself, doesn't it? A me I could have been, but will never be now, I replied. At least now. I am free. That moment, my body gave way. Chris's perspective. Night Slice, you've... I let go of the newly evolved Scizor and let him stand on his own. I know, he replied. Allegard was trapped between two sides. He did what he felt he had to. But me, what will I have to do to be free? Whatever it takes, I will be by your side, I said, stepping up beside him and glancing into the burning room. Thank you. Night Slice smiled, turning towards me. Let's go. Our friends need us. Jade's perspective. This way! Firestorm led. I had noticed the encounters we had along the way were drastically decreasing. It was like the two opposing sides had decided to stop fighting and start running. Wait! I growled. Our party ducked round a bend as a group of SF soldiers came running in the opposite direction. God damn it! The commander's gone insane! One of them was yelling. To heck with it, I'm out of here! They just went past us and out of sight. Firestorm looked towards us and nodded, before taking the lead again. There was only one door at the corridor's end, and it led into a large open room. It was some sort of amphitheater, though its purpose in the base eluded me. I tell you, I don't have it! A panicked voice was pleading.
Oh, really? Let's see.
No! The scream was cut off by the sounds of gunfire. On the stage was two people, one of which had just shot the other and was digging through the dead one's lab coat. I recognized him the instant we got close enough. Jubei! Firestorm roared.
So, you came, just like any would-be hero would.
Jubei faced us and stood up.
How fortunate. I do need witnesses to Angel's return.
What the hell is he talking about? Serac muttered.
And it was all thanks to you,
the madman continued, hardly paying attention to us at all.
Testing the chimera virus and testing implementing serum of the chimera process on a living subject proved to be a complete success.
Too bad that there are some bugs in your precious virus, Hazuki yelled, entering from a different entrance. Flanking her were Nala, Riot, Luminar, and Kyle. It's busted, to put it short, Nala added in.
It doesn't matter now,
Jubei laughed.
For now, I hold the ultimate evolution.
He held up a syringe.
This here is the DNA of the legendary Angel, enhanced with mutagens and genetic advances. The greatest psychic ever known. Mankind and Pokemon alike will have a new ruler in this form. And you will be the first sacrifices to this new reign of terror.
With that, he turned and jabbed the syringe into himself. The changes began almost immediately, causing everyone to gasp, and some to cry out in horror. First things to show were the wings, black as darkness itself, ripping out from beneath his clothes. Bones burst out from under his skin. No, not actually bone, but rather an exoskeleton made of bone. The whitish mass twisted and melded with his head and body, making some gruesome sounds. The bone-like exoskeleton wasn't uniform, creating horrific deformities all over the former human. He can't possibly control that! Nala cried. All chimeras were created under special conditions. There's no way he could survive that. Maybe he can't control it, but I think he's going to survive that, Hazuki muttered. But what is this angel anyway? A beast that should never have been allowed to exist. In a flash of blue light, Syndrea teleported it in. Known as the ultimate destroyer of life, long believed to be a myth, but as you can see, not entirely true.